Welcome, everybody, to the Untap podcast. I am Jonny Esports. I am joined, as always, by JT. How you doing, my dude?
I'm doing great, Johnny. Just coming back from the Jankyard and looking forward to talking some Magic.
Yeah, for sure. Kaldheim officially is out. We've been enjoying that, so of course we're talking a little bit of that. Today's topics will be, we got a new game today. It's essentially a lot like 2 cards, 1 color pie, but it's actually going to be called Is This a Commander? And I will explain that in a bit for JT to play. And then our topic, of course, will then go into what decks we are currently playing. And I hear you're playing a little bit of EDH, JT, so I'm excited to hear about what you're playing there. And then I figure we just talk a little bit about how Kaldheim's kind of affected the meta of things, and then we'll go from there. And that will be the podcast for the evening.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. All right, let's get right into it. So, our game, Is This a Commander? So how this is going to work, again, it's similar to 2 Truths, 1 Color Pie from before. I'm going to name 3 cards, and 2 of them are just going to be normal cards. One of them is actually a commander, and I'm going to change the name of the commander so I don't read like their proper noun. So, for example, if I were to try to make JT guess Ral, I would just say, is it Paragon? And I'm pretty sure Ral is a Paragon is actually even his actual correct thing. Is it Viceroy? Excuse me. So if I wanted to get guess Ral, I would say, is it Viceroy? And then that would be his name, because then all of them just sound like normal cards if you remove the proper noun. So, are you ready, JT?
Yeah, I was going to say though, you getting the name wrong of an is it?
I know, weird, right?
Planeswalker is doesn't that get you kicked out of the guild?
I don't tell Niv Mizzet. As long as he doesn't hear about it, I get to stay.
All right, okay, I'm set.
All right, let's go. So, our first card is 2 mana for a 2/2, Seeker of the Way. It has prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, Seeker of the Way gains lifelink until end of turn. So basically, it gets +1/+1 counter and gains lifelink. Sounds like a fun commander. We also have Console of Allocation. That is 3 mana, 1 generic, 1 white, 1 black for a 2/3. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, that player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. And finally, we have Deep-Root Champion, which is 2 mana, 1 generic, 1 green for a 1/1. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Deep-Root Champion. So, JT, I have the question for you. Which one is actually a commander?
Well, I mean, in the previous times we've done this, I've been like, oh, that sounds like one, that sounds like one. But I feel kind of bad, but I know this one. Because I've played in Modern Humans quite often. And one of my favorite sideboard cards is Kambal.
There you go. Hey, we got one. We got you one.
Finally got one. Yes.
Finally got one. Yeah, I like it because I thought like Deep-Root Champion might be a little bit of a throwaway one. I thought maybe, and then I was like, Seeker of the Way. That sounds like that could be someone's like title, right? Like yeah, maybe this will catch him. And then then Kambal. If you already play the card, that helps you out, and that's part of the game. There you go.
Yeah, you said Council Allocation. I'm like, that sounds familiar, and then you were like, 1, a white, and a black. Oh, it's Kambal.
Yeah, I know what that does.
Yeah, perfect. I mean, when I've played Modern with Humans, man, you play against a Storm player, drop Kambal.
Oh, yeah. Good night. Definitely. Excellent. Yeah, and I definitely went for a non-creature spell theme, so I'm just like, yeah. These are all, if they all were commanders, I'd probably try playing them, because I'm all about non-creature spells, so. That was the game this week, and I hope you enjoyed it.
And it's a nice seeing the contrast there, folks, because Mr. Esports there, he prefers to play lots of instants and sorceries, whereas I like the beef. Give me some creatures, let me turn creatures sideways.
For sure. All right, let's get into our next topic here, which of course will be whatever we've been brewing, whatever we've been playing. I want to hear about your EDH deck, because I know you've been playing a little bit of EDH yesterday, so talk to me, JT.
So, okay. I've only played a little bit of Paper Magic since the pandemic started, and I think there was one or two Phantom drafts and a back in the summer when things weren't locked down as hard. And what was the other thing? Oh, it was just somebody's
Cube.
cube. Yes, thank you. It was a cube, and that was it. So I have not actually sat down and built a deck for a while. Got invited to a friend's surprise party where we were going to play Commander on Spell Table. And if you haven't checked out Spell Table, it's a lot better than I thought it was. It's awesome.
It works really well. There's some hiccups here and there, but you know what I mean? Like it's definitely better than you'd think for sure.
Yeah, I was clicking on my creature, clicking on like a Resolute Watchdog, and it said it was a Krakus. But other than that, you can still see pretty clearly. It's pretty great. So, but I got to sit down, and I'm like, okay, I do have a couple of pre-con Commander decks. I could do that. Well, I've always wanted to build a big butts Commander deck, and I've never actually done it. So I did it. I decided, was I going to go 4 colors so I could play Doran or like everything but red, or would go 5 color, or do I stick with Bant? I decided to stick with Bant, made it Arcades, so it was all about defenders. The deck was called If These Walls Could Talk. And because there was 30 plus or 20 plus walls. So yeah, I got to sit down and made the deck list on Aether Hub, and then I sat down and started going through my different boxes, and I haven't done that in almost a year.
Yeah,
it was
right.
Such an amazing feeling just spending a couple hours picking through your, like, where's that card? Where's that card?
Yeah, we're going through different binders. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was so much fun to do. And so, yeah, just to go over it really quick, I mean, it's Arcades the strategist, so whenever a defender enters the battlefield, you draw a card, and defenders can attack with their toughness. So the big, Arcades was doing it for me, but Wall of Denial, which is an 08 with flying flying and shroud, that was doing it for me. I had a couple of 8/8 flyers like Wall of Shards, some 06s that turn into 6/6s with Arcades, and yeah, it was just an absolute blast. I won both my matches, just swinging in with all these beef. And because most of the creatures are 3 mana or less, and with the ramp of Commander, I was just unloading stuff. So I will post the deck list.
Yeah, send that to me so I can make sure to put it in the show notes.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get it in the show notes, and I hope people check it out, because it was really good. I didn't know if it'd be a great deck, but it was quick, and it was pretty powerful. So
awesome.
That was what I was playing. And yeah, just even though we're on webcams and we're in different rooms, it was still great to interact with people and to drop, shuffle. Just sitting shuffling was such a good feeling.
Yeah, like I said, even when I play Arena, sometimes I have a deck beside me and just sit there and shuffle.
I might start doing
good.
that.
It feels good, man.
Yeah.
The tactile feeling of cards, man, nothing replaces that. And I know it's silly, like it's cardboard, or even in our case, it's like plastic on top of cardboard if you're sleeved, right? It's like, I don't know, especially like I think we just associated so many good feelings, so many good moments in our lives with playing Magic, right? That it's just like something about having the actual cards feels better. There's like, yeah, you can make Mythic or whatever in Magic, but even that doesn't feel super great. Like winning a tournament in real life just feels way better than I say even like getting really high ranked and playing a game. You could win a match and you just move on to the next one in an arena. Whereas like winning a match, like especially a grindy one, feels super good in real life.
Oh yeah,
because you're just like, oh, I figured out the angle and I played my cards perfectly. Whereas like a grindy match in arena, if you lose a grinding match, it's really frustrating. Whereas losing a grinding match in like real life feels like, oh, if only I did this differently or this happened. It's like there's still like a little bit of like a endorphin reward in real life because you're like interacting with the person, right? Whereas like when you're climbing the ladder, just winning is the only thing that matters. So like the gameplay barely feels super good sometimes. It's not super rewarding, but like I don't know, something about actually using the cards feels so good, man.
Well, and speaking about like enjoying winning tournaments in paper, I'm just going to bring this up really quick. This is an anniversary for both Johnny and myself, because one of the LGSs here in Winnipeg runs an annual event on Super Bowl Sunday called the Superb Owl, which unfortunately not going to happen this year because of COVID. And they've done it for 3 years. 2 of those years was Magic. 1 year, I think they did Keyforge, but the other Magic. And Johnny won the first one in 2018, and I won the one last year.
Yeah.
So I've just, we're recording this on Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm just like, that's right.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I think when we won, we were playing Rivals of Ixalan sealed. I think that was what
Yeah,
you
I
won
think
with.
so. Yeah. And I remember the finals of that game too. I was going up against a good friend of the show, Chris, and we just had this epic match, and oh, it was so good. Like I said, like even him, like I said, even sometimes losing in paper when it's a good match still is really rewarding. You could tell he was just like, oh, that was such a good match, and it was for this final, for this like little trophy that I got to be the champion of, which was pretty cool. And then of course you winning, of course, too as well. Like, yeah, we're kind of good at Magic if we want to be.
Yeah, last year we were playing Theros Beyond sealed, and Pelucranos carried me through. I think I was playing Jund, and it was fun.
Yeah, man. Jund Unlimited is like my jam like, a lot of the time. Obviously, sometimes I just force Is It, which is really good right now, by the way, for anyone playing Kaldheim draft, but that's another aside. But it's either I'm playing Is It or I'm playing Jund. I like almost never play anything else when it comes to limited. I force one of the two, whichever like bomb I get in those colors, right? So
Well, that's funny. I might like try to force white more often, and that sounds like the one color where you're like,
I never play white. I
I'll
honestly
pass.
virtually never play white. I don't. I see tiny creatures. For the most part, I'm like, I'm never gonna draft that. Why would I draft that? But they
listen,
obviously
I
usually have a ton of synergy, so it can be good. But I always find myself, obviously, like I just see a green creature with trample or something, and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll play that. Or I see a flying creature, and I was like, yeah, I draft that, right? Like those are like the two things I draft, and then I base my whole draft around that, right? If anyone wants insight, I guess my draft strategy, which is whether that's correct or not, whatever. But that's tends to how I kind of lean to which way I'm playing, but.
While I am a big fan of white weenies and tokens, there's something to be said for a colossal dreadmaw.
Yeah, it's always a good time. Yeah, sometimes when there's angels in the set, obviously it's tempting to play white because then you get a big flying angel, Baneslayer angel or something, Liar Dawnbringer. Yeah, like stuff like that. Then yeah, I'll play white because I can't ignore that card. But it's those are just tend to where we go as we go a little bit of tangity there, but. Yeah.
So what deck are you playing these days?
Okay, so in reality, I actually been playing Standard, which is a bit of a rarity for me because I haven't liked Standard since before War of the Spark. I honestly think Standard has been so bad. It sucks that I was excited for War of the Spark because I thought the standards before that were so good that it helped that like Is It was the best deck, and of course I was playing it, so that's a little bit of bias for me at the time. But War of the Spark kind of came up, and then it was just like the power creep suddenly jumped up like mad in MTG, and it made me not like Standard as much. So I had from there been mostly playing Eternal formats, including like Historic and Modern and stuff. But I've actually been really enjoying Standard right now, and whether that's just because everyone's kind of brewing, doing fun stuff. That could be a thing. I started off by trying to do the Death Touch Tribal with Finn the Fangbearer. And if you're familiar at all, Finn the Fangbearer is 1 colorless, 1 green for a 1/3 Death Touch. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. And of course, if they have 10 poison counters, they lose the game. So I was trying out Death Touch Tribal with Hooded Blight Fang, which that card is 2 generic, 1 black for a 1/4. Death Touch, whenever a creature you control with Death Touch attacks, opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Whenever a creature you control with Death Touch deals damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. So basically, either one of those two need to be on the field for you to have good win condition because you just play a bunch of 1/1 Death Touchers. And it's kind of fun because it's like people don't want to block it. And it was like, it was going well. But where I actually found, I know I was just talking about playing more Standard, what I actually found was to make it really interesting was to put it in Historic, because there's a couple things you can add with Historic. Collected Company, which is just like real good. Look top 6 cards of your library, put 2 creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less. Everything's 3 or less. From among them onto your battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library. So that's just like gets you more of those guys. Maybe you jump into another Hooded Blightfang, which is when the deck goes crazy. But also, I added Cavalcade of Calamity because I realized everyone has 1 attack on this deck. So whenever creature you control with power 1 or less attacks, Cavalcade of Calamity deals 1 damage to that player or planeswalker that creature is attacking. So I kind of realized, like, and in a way,
oh my goodness, yeah, that's more poison.
yeah, well, it actually doesn't add more poison because if they hit, it's still going to just be a single point because it's combat damage, which
it has to
they were smart about it. I think they didn't want people to break this horribly. It actually made Finn the Fangbearer kind of bad in the deck because Cavalcade of Calamity and Hooded Blightfang were just way better payoffs than Finn in Historic. But it's fun. It's cheesy, and you kind of just get free wins. I probably only recommend it in best of one because people just load up, like, especially with everything, so many things being one toughness. It's really easy to kind of just take care of what you're doing there. But it's pretty fun, and I've been a little bit enjoying that. But I've also been enjoying going back to standard is just like how good mono red snow is.
Oof.
Right? Just Frostbite and Demon Bolt have just been great additions to playing mono red. And I know it's like not super spicy or anything, but it's just good. It's good and efficient. And Goldsman Dragon is kind of taking over the format right now.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. So that's 3 generic, 2 red for a 4/4 dragon. Flying haste. Whenever Goldsman Dragon attacks or becomes a target of spell, create a treasure token. Treasures you control have sacrifice this artifact, add 2 mana of any one color. So you just have this big mana advantage you get from it. Obviously, just a 4/4 flying haste like that on its own is has been pretty relevant in standards in the past, and just obviously that extra flavor too of getting all this extra mana to be able to just continue to dump your hand is really impressive. So yeah, mono red has kind of been my jam. Obviously, like Is It right now feels like it's taking over, which is funny that I'm talking about playing mono red when Is It is potentially the best of the meta. But to be fair, I don't have 4 Goldspan Trigates yet. I actually only have 1, and once I have 4, I will probably start playing the Is It deck. But I've been having fun playing mono red too. So the just like the, you know, it's not a completely Kaldheim deck. It's not Giants, which I still want to build. It's not like a Bergie deck. Like Storm Bergie or something that I also want to build, but been having fun with that in standard too.
Well, I've been having fun in standard as well, actually, and partly because at the Jankyard, our Sunday tournament this week was standard gauntlet. We periodically run the gauntlet tournaments where you bring 3 decks, and so in each game of the best of 3, you play a different deck, and they have to be distinctly different decks. Mm-hmm. And so a couple of decks some of the decks I've been working with are some of my ones that I've had before that I've just been tweaking, like the mono red control, the 5 color shrines, but then also last week I talked about the mono red Bergie deck, which boy did it go off in the tournament. It was awesome.
Oh yeah.
But the one I want to talk about that I just built recently, I still haven't got many wins with it. I'll fully admit, folks, it's not a big winner yet, but we'll work on it. I'm calling it Forest Fires. It is red-green land destruction and dragons. Mm-hmm. And the big things you're using are Cleansing Wildfire, which is a good way to get rid of non-basics. I mean, they can go find a basic, so that's the trade-off. But you also get to draw a card, and for 2 mana, that's pretty good. Mm-hmm. Smashing Success, 4 mana, destroy an artifact or land. If it's an artifact destroyed this way, create a treasure token, but most of the time I'm just blowing up their lands with that. And then you also have, which I haven't gotten to play much, but Waking the Trolls, which is a 6 mana enchantment. For Chapter 1, destroy target land. Chapter 2, put target land from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. Chapter 3, choose target opponent. If they control fewer lands than you, create a number of 4/4 green troll warrior creature tokens with trample equal to the difference. I haven't got there yet, but I'm working on it. And I mean, a big thing with this deck is ramp. Mm-hmm. So Gilded Goose, Elysian Caryatid, Lotus Cobra, Cultivate, Beanstalk Giant, and then the big finishers are the 3 Goldspan Dragons, the 3 Terror of the Peaks, and the 1 Terror of Mount Velas. So I'm going for these big dragons to finish things off.
Yeah.
We're working on it, right? I need to tweak it a bit.
I mean, yeah, Pawns. They're getting dangerously close to Ponza being like a real deck in like standard.
I think with all the ramp, I think Waking the Trolls might be somewhat legit, especially if you can blow up a few lands on the way there.
Yeah, especially some of the really, really important lands that potentially someone could be playing or whatever. So, yeah, it can be fairly annoying. Plus, you get a 4/4 at the end of the day of it too.
Well, with Waking the Trolls, if you blow up enough lands, you could get several.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the other new card that works for this deck is a land. It's Knotfold Slumber Mound. That is a red land, comes in tapped. You can tap it for red, but for 3, 1 red, 2 green, and tap it, you can sack it, destroy target land, and create a 4/4 green troll warrior creature token with trample.
Yeah, I got super frustrated. I was playing a snow deck in Kaldheim Limited, and someone sacked this to destroy like a reported snow land I needed. I was like, no, that's actually awful. Yeah,
and it can destroy any land. So it's and they don't get the card back. That's the nice thing about Smashing Success and the land is they don't get to go search for a basic.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So if you like the idea of land destruction and being on the giving end of it as opposed to the receiving end, give it a try. I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's not quite like red green modern Ponza where people you're destroying lands on turn 1 and then they can't play Magic at all, right? Like it's not that punishing. It is at least a little bit interactive, and I think they're playing with land destruction in standard, and it's interesting.
Well, and I went up against a deck in Historic, which things were a little faster, but he also had the Waking the Trolls, and he was blowing up other lands. And that was what made me think, oh, geez, I should try this in Standard. But in Historic, I was suddenly sitting there going, I have no lands.
Yeah, especially like you have more ways to ramp earlier in Historic already, so it's can be very interesting. All right, so our last topic today, just talking about what Kaldheim cards seem to be affecting the meta is what I talk about. I touched on it a little bit. We already talked about Goldsman Dragon, of course, being kind of like the standout card right now. We already talked, last week about Tybalt's Trickery, so we don't need to get into those shenanigans again. If you want to, if you somehow haven't heard about it, you can listen to last week's podcast. We do talk about that there. But what have you kind of been noticing about the meta right now in either Standard or Historic or whatever you're playing that Kaldheim seems to be affecting?
Well, I think in Historic, I'm definitely seeing, and it's not just Tybalt's Trickery, I can't pin it down, but I'm having a much harder time with the butt stack. I think Control is maybe just a little better. And I'm noticing it's definitely... in Standard, it's made it much harder for my control decks to work. And it may sound counterintuitive, but in Standard, things are just faster. And whereas prior to Kaldheim, I could make the Shrine deck work a good chunk of the time. I could make that mono-red Fire Emancipation control work fairly often. Now things are just a little faster, and by the time I get myself under control, I'm down to 4 or 5 life.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm feeling. It's just it has definitely made things move a little quicker. Snow is definitely impacting things, but I wouldn't say it's smashed things outright.
Yeah.
But it's definitely has an impact.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is that it feels like this is a world where everyone in the world is just waiting for Throne of Eldraine to rotate out, because it still like feels like Throne of Eldraine Standard, right? In a lot of ways. And we like the one standout card again, we're talking about Goldsman Dragon, which has made its way into blue-red, made that a relevant deck. It's made its way into Teamer Ramp, because obviously ramping that's really good. It's made its way into Gruul Adventures, but even then, like those two decks that I just mentioned, Teamer Ramp, Gruul Adventures, are basically Throne of Eldraine decks. And it's just like, oh, here, sweet, another dragon to just kind of ramp into and throw in there. So that's kind of been the biggest impact for sure.
And you still see lots of Gruul Adventures decks on the ranked ladder for sure. Yeah, so you're still seeing a lot of Bone Crusher Giant stomping on you, and
and Embercleave doing its thing.
yeah. I mean, I run Cleave in my Bergie deck, so I would agree. Throne really still is the standout deck that everything is built around. Or not deck, but the standout set. Yeah, which is like, it's what it is. But what I will say, I don't want to be overly negative. What I'll say positively is that like Kaldheim has lots of fun cards that have come out, but not like breaking the format cards or breaking Eternal format cards or anything. Like if I like, well, actually, I say not breaking Eternal format, and then we have Tybalt doing crazy things in Modern. But besides that,
they introduce cards for at least standard and historic that, oh yeah, this fits into this deck, cool, but it's not just like destroy the format. Yet people are still very excited about Kaldheim. I haven't been this excited about a set in a couple years, in a standard set in a couple years. So for this, it seems awesome to have stuff going on that like I can be excited about cards, but they're not so busted. And I hope Wizards takes that feedback and goes, hey, we don't have to just power creep the crap out of decks, because actually, in a way, more fun to play cards that are more synergistic but less powerful than it is just to drop, hey, powerful card, I win the game now, right? Which is the way the Magic's been going for a little bit now. So it's nice to see this set for sure.
Well, and I think maybe a great example of that is Goldsman Dragon, which is becoming one of the the most ubiquitous of the cards from Kaldheim being played in different decks. And it's a really good card, don't get me wrong, but it's not Glorybringer.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
Glorybringer was better, for sure.
Glorybringer definitely was better because it would kill things.
Yeah.
So, but before it swung in, so Goldsman Dragon is very good. It's a very useful card, but it's not, I wouldn't call it busted.
Yeah, like that's like Goldsman Dragon is probably the limit of what I want to see a card in standard do.
That's fair.
For me personally, like at that mana cost. Obviously, you could have like ultimatums could be like 8-10 mana or whatever, and then they do stupid things. That's fine, right? Like if they cost that much. But when you have so much that has like 3 mana stuff or like Uro or whatever that just completely destroy everything. Kroxa 2 mana, right, for something that powerful. You're like, man, how is it crazy? Or if we just backtrack a little bit to 3 fairy, right? Like, how is that 3 mana when this would have been fair at 4? Like, there's so much of that they pushed, and like, yeah, they could have made Goldsman Dragon 4 mana, and I would have been really mad about it. But they made it 5, and like, it feels fair.
Yes, I would agree. And I mean, it's a 4/4 flying haster, absolutely.
Yeah, it has all great stats.
The rest of its impact is not huge. I mean, it's extra ramp. You get a treasure token, and then that treasure token makes mana.
It's funny because like it's 5, and then it replaces the mana you spent on it right away, right? So it's like it's almost like it's 4 or 3, right? In that sense, if you still want to cast spells after casting Goldsman Dragon, so like. It really would have felt insane if it was 4 mana, but I think they hit the spot with that card, where it's powerful. It gives again, is it control a finisher, gives mono red a finisher, which is fine to have at that mana cost. It just I hope that's the direction Wizards is going now, and I like, because again, for me it's felt since War of the Spark that there's been way too much power creep, and I hope they're toning it down. And if they can create an exciting theme like Kaldheim, and we have the D&D set coming out too, which people are going to go nuts about. I'm going to go nuts about for sure, right? So it's like you have these good themes that can come out that people can get excited about, and you can make cards that are thematically super fit really well in here. If you actually deep dive into all the Kaldheim stuff, the amount of references to actual mythology, Norse mythology, is awesome. Yeah. Like there's just so much into it. I don't want to do a disservice by trying to like just drop random things, but like I'll like look at any of the legendaries. You can like look into the background of the cards that are going on there. Even some of the cards like the 6-legged horse that's in here. That's just a direct relation to one of Loki's children, right? And it's just like all these awesome flavor stuff that like really help the set sell it too, so you can get excited about it from that angle. And again, the power level is just like, it's good. I think it's good.
Yeah, and I think they've got some real opportunities coming up the rest of this year to really play with that flavor, which I mean, a lot of us like competing, and I don't follow the lore as closely as I should, but I love the flavor.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the Harry Potter set. I think that could be really cool.
Yeah.
Like some people are like, I don't know, but I think this idea of a magic university. Sure, let's see what it does.
Yeah, for sure. And that's gonna have lots of Izzet stuff. So I'm gonna be excited if they do that.
Yes, there'll be a lot of wizards for sure.
For sure.
And then you got the D&D set, of course. That's going to be, especially if you're a D&D player, there's going to be so many callouts. And then going back to my favorite plane, Innistrad. Super excited about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super
Innistrad
exciting.
was where when I started playing with like Dragon's Tarkir. I played one tournament with, but I started with Battle for Zendikar and it was good. But then we went to Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon, and that's where I really cut my teeth on Magic.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to go back to Innistrad this fall.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, on that positive note, that should end the podcast for this week. JT, would you like to plug anything for yourself right now?
Absolutely. Please do come check out our streams at twitch.tv/jankyardmtg. We have 2 tournaments each week. Our Historic Brawl tournament is on Thursday nights and nights in North American time. And our Sunday tournaments are Sunday mornings. This week, the Historic Brawl is your commander has to be human. And then for the Sunday tournament, we're going to be playing Gladiator. If you haven't played it, it's 100 cards singleton. It's a blast.
Nice.
So yeah, we're doing that. And if you want to support us, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/jankyardmtg.
Awesome. And for myself, you can follow me on different social media stuff at Jonny Esports, Instagram, Twitter. And as well, check out Meta Break Apparel. It's my apparel line where we have different shirts and sweaters and masks and stuff. It helps out. We're going to be designing new stuff soon. Just been gonna get to all of that, but that stuff just helps kind of support everything I'm doing between showcasting, this podcast, video editing. I do a lot of stuff. And if you just want to support and look kind of cool while doing it, I really like the logo I designed for Metabrick Apparel there, and I'm excited to do more stuff. So definitely at least check it out. Like click on the link and then check it out. It takes you to Redbubble, and you can kind of just check out the different stuff we have. I appreciate even just looking at it, to be completely honest. All right,
well, can I just give one extra plug?
Yeah, for sure.
Because this is our 5th episode, and it's going great. But I want to thank Jonny. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing all the graphics that go with it, and that's all Jonny. He's doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for that, sir.
Yeah, I guess I could throw it there. I do video editing. If you enjoyed how this podcast was edited, and you have a podcast, I can work with you. I'm cool with that. You can check out retouchmedia.com for my portfolio as well. Maybe I should be plugging that more. Anyway, let's get out of here. I'm enjoying Kaldheim. I look forward to enjoying more of it and getting back next week talking about decks we're playing because it's one of the highlights of the week for me, JT. So I look forward to the next time, and we'll see you all later.
See ya.